Welcome to Christian Conversations with Pastor Mensa Otabil.
Welcome to Christian Conversations. I'm Pastor Mensa Otabil. We're continuing our conversation on relationship, marriage, and all things related. Last week we looked at that with some young people and took their questions. Today we go back to our regular format and we're going to explore the issue a bit further. And I have with me Pastor Albert Okran from ICGC, the New Wine Temple. Pastor Albert, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. This month's conversations are weighty issues for many.
Yes.
Let's look at marriage. It would seem that today it seems to be trivialized in many quarters. How important is marriage in today's context?
Well, I mean, we look at it beyond today. I mean, as Christians, everything we believe in is how we see it in the Bible. So it's a major institution of God in the Bible. I mean, the first commitment we see for Adam in the Garden of Eden, and by extension for humans, is a commitment to be image presenters of God or to be images of God. But in doing that, in doing the work that God has given to us, Adam is given the responsibility to tend the Garden of Eden. So the whole concept of work and the importance of work for human life. Without work, humanity collapses. And right after work, Adam is given the responsibility of naming the animals. So custodianship of the world we are in is also important. And then after that is the institution of marriage. So marriage is right there as one of the most important things for holding human existence together. For work, for custodianship, and for marriage. We cannot survive as humans if we're not working. We cannot survive as humans if we don't take responsibility for our world. And we cannot survive as humans if we mess up marriage and the whole institution of it. So it's very, very critical. And it's important that we don't see it as just something we have to do now, but it is for the survival of us as a species, as human beings, for us to have good marriages.
What do you think accounts for the continued, if I would say, minimization or sometimes even bastardization of the institution?
I think because people take it as an option of life, that they can do it anyhow. You can decide to marry, not to marry. Some people think the most important aspect of it is producing children. But children are not produced until there's marriage. So marriage is the social construct within which children are birthed. And God designed it this way because children must be nurtured. They must be taken care of. They must be taught. They must be instructed as to how to be good human beings, to be good custodians of the society that they have come into. And all of that happens if there is a properly constituted union that the children come into.
Let's go back to the basics. What is a properly constituted union?
Properly constituted union is a union of two people who value each other and have agreed to live together. Adam put it so well when Eve was presented to him, "This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh." In other words, I agree to live with this person, and I suppose Eve also agrees to live with Adam. So the two people of great worth and great value who determine that their lives belong to each other, because in their union, they're going to bring other human beings into existence. And of course, it goes through a personal choice. It goes through a social choice of families, and it goes through a legal process and a spiritual process, which we call wedding and so on. And all of those are important to constitute this union. It's not casual, it's formal, and it's supposed to be long lasting. It's supposed to be for life. So anything that casualizes it doesn't make it what God intends it to be.
Will the failure to settle on the right foundation be the reason why we are seeing increasing levels of divorce?
I think so. I think the humans are interesting in the sense that we feel that we get to make the rules for life. We feel that we get to choose how things should work, And anytime we do that, we fail at it. Because we didn't choose ourselves to be born. No human being says that I wanted to be born, so I got born. We just realized one day we are in this world, and somebody brought us to the world. Immediately we can say our parents, but our parents were also brought by somebody. So ultimately, there is a creator, and he has told us how his world should be run. And we find it in the Bible clearly. And so when we divorce ourselves from the creator and want to make rules for ourselves, especially when a group of people come along and they think they are the modern generation, they know better than everybody else who has existed, they're going to make some terrible mistakes.
Sometimes you hear people call marriage a contract, and then we hear the word covenant. Help us to distinguish between the two.
They are similar, but covenant means that this is sacred. This is like a holy thing. So, when you make a contract with somebody, it's legal, but you don't call it holy. But Christians say that, yes, it's legal, but it's a holy legal arrangement. That's why we call it covenant, that we're not the only parties in it, that there is a superintendent over this arrangement, and he's God, and he's involved in what we do in the context of marriage. So we see it as a covenant, not because it's not a contract, but it's because God is involved. It's a holy thing that we are doing for the Lord.
What are the implications of the addition of that superintendent, God being the part of the relationship?
It means that we're going to consider his viewpoint critically in what we do. We're not just going to look at what we like, how we feel, what we think is best for our well-being, but the one who designed it, how does he want us to live this? And I believe God knows that marriage is difficult. And how do I say that? Because the first marriage was a difficult one. Adam and Eve, came together, and before you can say Jack, there is trouble. And they are now being expelled from Eden. And Adam could have said, I could have lived by myself alone. But I like how he approaches it. He says, the woman you gave me brought this trouble. Yeah, she brought trouble, but you gave her to me. In other words, this woman is from God. She's still the bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. In other words, life is tough, but she's still bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. This is my God-given soulmate. This is my God-given partner. And so I'm going to live through this, and we're going to work our way through this, and we're going to go through the sweat together, the toil together. We're going to find a way to make this work, even though it's messed up our lives, So, and I think that is what marriage is. It's not running away at the least problem, but figuring out how do we make this work in a respectful, in an honoring, in a good way where both of us are enhanced, are becoming better people because we stuck together and we work through our difficulties.
Let's talk about sustainability. Many people equate marriage to romance, and the thing that makes you unable to breathe when you see a person. And then after a while, that thing fades, and then suddenly there's not much to hold on to. How do Christians find something more weighty to last for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and still keep going?
If I go back to the scriptures, I can imagine how Adam and Eve felt the first day they met together, and how life was, the beauty of it, the Garden of Eden, everything going well. We call it a honeymoon phase. And then something is going to go wrong. And you have to figure out, what do we do with life? So the romance is important. It attracts people. It makes you meet somebody and you just feel good about your life. You feel your life has found meaning, it's found purpose, but it's not going to remain there forever. Even in Eden, things go wrong. The challenge is not that things go wrong. The challenge is, what do you do when things go wrong? And for Adam and Eve, they found a way to live, because if they had not lived, there would be no humanity. They had to find a way to live. They had to find a way to go on with their lives. And so if we only look at the good feeling, the romance, and never think of the difficulty, then our marriage will be meaningless.
Talking about even in Eden, things go wrong. I was once officiating a wedding, and I said, for better, for worse. And the bride said, for better, for richer, and for richer. And it was a struggle for her to admit that something could go wrong. What would you say to those who somehow believe that just by refusing to see?
I mean, they're refusing to be human. I mean, the old language is for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, richer for poorer. We use new language in our vows, and we say in good times and bad times.
That's the one, yes.
In trials and in triumphs, saying the same thing, that there will be good times, there will be bad times, there will be trials, there will be triumphs, there will be sickness, there will be health. Any human being who cannot say that is in total denial. I'm yet to meet anybody in human existence who says my life is for better, for best. Everybody goes through good times and bad times. So why we can't even accept that the reality of marriage is there will be good times and bad times. Sometimes things are going to go bad. They weren't bad in Eden, but you have to figure out how to live your life. So I think it's a denial. When people look at marriage that way, it means they're not ready to put in the hard work required of them to make their marriages work. There will be good times, there will be bad times. There will be richer, there will be poorer. There will be sickness, there will be health. There will be better, there will be worse. That is life. There is day and night. There is cold and there is heat. It's the routine of life. But through it all, we live. We live in the darkness, we live in the light. We live in the day, we live in the night as well. So I think it's a bit of naivety for people to deny that there are good times and bad times.
So faith can't be used as an excuse to take that stand.
As a matter of fact, faith is what carries us through the bad times, isn't it? I mean, look through the Bible. It's faith is what takes us through trials and tribulations and pain and sorrow. That's what our faith is helping us to navigate, because there will be that. There will be failures and massive failures. There will be disappointment. There will be pain. There will be tears. But what is faith for if it can't take you through the difficult times? Then it's no faith. It is just wishful thinking. But true faith helps us. Weeping endures in the night, joy comes in the morning. We wait because morning is coming, and in the morning things are going to be all right.
It would seem that the Bible makes enough provision for this, but we find a way of navigating around it and pretending it doesn't exist.
I think most of us live in a wishful world and wish that we would live in a world where we eat ice cream all the time, where it's Christmas every day, where it's payday every day. But the reality of life is not ice cream every day. It's not Christmas every day. It's not payday every day. Of course, there will be Christmas, there will be payday, there will be ice cream, there will be joy, there will be happiness. But certainly, there will be difficulties along the way.
Unrealistic expectations and almost automatic guarantee of disappointment.
I think so. You know, when we fall in love with people, we Photoshop the people.
I like that.
You know, and so most times you don't see anything bad going to happen. I'm so in love. What can go wrong? This person loves me so well. I don't think it will ever change. But before you were born, people were in love and things change. And before your grandparents were born, we're not the first to exist in the world. The history of human experience tells us that no matter how much you are in love with somebody, you're going to face difficulties.
Let's take a minute to speak to somebody going through a difficulty, disappointment. They didn't get to hear this before they got married. Now things are not the way they were hoping they would be, and they're in that place where they say, you know what, but I started so well and it's gone so awry. How did they navigate their way to the place of commitment?
Well, I mean, some of the things that go wrong in marriage are difficult to repair. And I would say some are impossible to repair. Because if you marry somebody who is so selfish and self-centered that they think their pleasure and their happiness is the most important thing, so they would engage in extramarital affairs, and because they think it makes them feel good. For the men, they feel that, well, I'm an African man, this is how I'm supposed to be. It's a very childish, naive, self-centered way of thinking. Or a woman thinks, yeah, but I'm beautiful, men like me, what should I do? So when you marry somebody who thinks that their happiness and bringing in third parties is equal or better than the union you're trying to build, and they incessantly, continuously, unrepentantly violate the covenant, it's an impossible relationship to repair, because marriage is based on fidelity, on faithfulness to one another. So when I say that good times and bad times, I'm not talking about people cheating as a habit. I'm not talking about people being cruel to one another, either a woman beating the husband beating the wife, and molesting people and really torturing the other person. That's not what we are talking about, because that denies mutual respect. The difficulty of marriage is basically, how do we make this decision? How do I adapt to this person and his life? Maybe I'm outgoing, he's quiet, and there's a conflict. Or we're trying to manage our finances, we can't manage it. Or we're managing mother-in-law, father-in-law, we can't manage it. Or we're managing our time, we can't manage it. These are things you can work through. But where gross abuse comes in and total disregard for the sanctity, the covenant is disregarded, I think that's a totally different story.
If I may ask, why do people do that, if I may ask?
Marriage is for mature people. And maturity is when you've lived long enough to say, I want to share my life with somebody. When people get to the point where they say, I want to make somebody's life better, they're ready for marriage. If people say, I want somebody to make my life better, they're not ready.
Wow.
Because if you're looking for somebody to improve you, then everything is drawn to your desire. I want a wife who makes me feel good. I want a husband who makes me feel good, whether financially or status or whatever. At that time, the basis of marriage is very, very juvenile, very childish. And that childish drive is going to make you self-centered. And as you become more and more self-centered, you undermine the sanctity of the union and the peace of your home, and even the children and their future and their stability, because all you want is just to feel good and not how to make the other person feel better.
It means that somebody can be at what they call the ripe age for marriage, but not be mature enough to marry.
A lot of people are physically ready for marriage, in other words, biologically ready, but not emotionally ready for marriage because they haven't learned how to share. And if you don't know how to share, you can't survive with marriage.
This is deep. When I was young, I used to do wall hangings, and I remember one of the favorite quotes: "To love is to put your happiness in the happiness of another." Is it true?
Yes, and it takes maturity to do that. I mean, everybody who's been married successfully would tell you that a successful marriage comes at great pain, most times, to what they would naturally have wanted. Because you're going to make sacrifice. Sacrifice is you're going to let go something now so that something better can be achieved. You're going to let go of your sense of right and wrong so that the two of you together can build. You know, especially in our culture where sometimes men feel they are always right. It used to be the traditional way. I'm the man of the house. What I say is the law. I mean, then why did you bring somebody into your life? Why didn't you live by yourself and make your own laws? I mean, you bring somebody into your life and you think you can bully them. You're not their father. You're not their parent. You didn't raise them. You didn't give birth to them. But you think they have no right because you are the man of the house. Of which house anyway? Because the house the two of you belong to is for the two of you. It's not for you. It's for the two of you. So it used to be like that. Now we're seeing a trend where the women now are calling the shots. I earn more money. I do this. I pay my own way. You can tell me what to do. Both are wrong. Both are manifestations of immaturity. And the thing is, if you don't mature emotionally, you can marry 100 people, you're going to have the same problems. That's why people have multiple marriages, because the problem is not the partner, it's you. It's you, except if there's cheating and gross abuse going on. If it's most of the time, the problem is not the partner.
Is there if I may use the word, a sweet spot between the one extreme of the masculinity and then the other extreme of trying to correct and swing it to the other side? Is there a middle ground where there's maturity, there's real companionship?
I personally, and this is my personal view, I believe marriages survive based on the man. Men determine the outcome of marriage, whether it will work or not. And the reason I say that is because culturally, socially, historically, whether we plan it or not, in every marriage, especially in an African context, the man assumes a leadership position. He may not be the most educated, he may not be the one who earns more money, but just by being the man, they assume a kind of a leadership position. Now, this leadership position is normally not earned. It is conferred by culture, by tradition, by society.
In scripture?
By scripture, yes. It is conferred. But it has to be earned. You know, if somebody confesses something on you, you have to earn it. You have to now justify it. You have to live up to it. So here you are, you look at yourself. I'm a man. I'm just living by myself. I'm just Mensa Otabil. Then I marry my wife, and all of a sudden I'm the head of the family. What did I do to achieve headship? Nothing. I haven't done anything except to propose, and she said yes, and that's it. I'm the head. I haven't invested into her life. I haven't done anything. So if I see that right, which the scriptures have given me, culture has given me, society has given me, my wife has also given me as a right, I must be crazy in my head to think that I have earned it, because I haven't earned it.
How do you earn it?
You earn it for the rest of the marriage. You now have to show headship. Headship means you're going to sacrifice. If the two of you are eating and one piece is left of what you are eating, the head gives to the other. You sacrifice. That's what headship is. When there is a conflict of choice, you make concession. So the headship is not headship for you to lord over, but headship for you to nurture, headship to make concessions. And I think most men take the imputed headship as a right to enforce, instead of something God has given to them that they have to live for. And the scripture puts it so clearly. Jesus Christ, as the head of the church, what did he do? He gave himself for us. Ephesians 5 tells us. So this headship comes with a package, and it comes with what Christ did by sacrificing. It is in his sacrifice that we honor him as Lord, because he gave, we give of ourselves also to him. But he first gave, and we respond. And I believe that's how it is. And I believe men determine the temperature of the marriage.
So would you say that the earning of the headship is that possible missing factor in most marriages?
I think so, particularly in our part of the world, because of we are in a very strong hierarchical culture where people see headship as authority to bully everybody else. So we don't see headship as a responsibility, as a stewardship, something we have to account for. And I think that's where a lot of men miss it.
Very, very, very powerful thought. Let's go on to companionship. For many people, they ask people who are married for 30 years, 40 years, how do you stay friends for so long and still be very happy with each other? So let me ask.
I think, marriage has its own life. And it can be two people who get on very well right from the beginning. But sometimes it can be two people who don't particularly get on. But they work their way through it, And by the time you live with somebody for a year, you know them a little better. And you do so for 10 years and 20 years. And all of a sudden, there is an ease with which you live with a person, because you are making these micro adjustments and they are making micro adjustments. And all of a sudden, your life is harmonizing. There's less of tension because each one or each party is making effort to make it work. And then you realize that your interests are almost the same. And you have 20 years of history to talk about, 30 years of history to talk about, 40 years of history. You see very old couples who have been married for 50 years. They can talk from morning to evening because they have 50 years of conversation material. Of course, when you marry somebody for 1 year, you have only 1 year conversation material. And very soon, you've exhausted your conversation, then you start quarreling. But over time, you see that you have far more interest and a lot more to talk about. And I think marriage is truly enjoyed after 20 years.
That's another big one.
Yes. I think it takes about 10 years to get to know your partner well enough, and another 10 years to make the sufficient adjustments where you can be at rest with each other to really enjoy each other's company.
So it means that for those who are watching and listening who are 10, 15, and they think they're enjoying, they should just relax. After 20, they will feel the real movement.
Yeah. I mean, different people marry. You can find people who are very close. They're very good friends. and they hit it off so well. And then 3 years later, they're hitting at each other so viciously. You wonder, what happened? The two of you were the best of friends. Because, you can't shortchange this process. Even if you're the best of friends, you will have tensions. You have to work your way through, no matter how you got. You may wear the same clothes. Your parents may be friends. You may have gone to the same school, but you will hit the rocky patch. You will. And you have to work your way through it. And over some time, you find so much to share with each other. And when you are apart, you want to be together. You want to sit together with your wife or your husband because they are the best conversation partners you have.
If a couple is listening and they are 20 plus, and instead of finding that glue, they are gradually drifting apart, is there hope?
It means that they spend 20 years not working on the marriage, because time by itself doesn't really make your marriage better. You can be 20 years and have the most horrible marriage, and you can be 50 years in marriage and hate each other's guts. I'm not talking about the fact that time by itself will make the marriage better, but what you do with the time, within the 5 years, within the 10 years, within the 20 years. And what you do is consciously making adjustments. And both consciously making the adjustments. If one person thinks, I'm perfect and you are the problem, there's going to be difficulty in the marriage. But both have to see, I'm making effort to adjust to my wife. I'm making effort to adjust to my husband. And everybody must be making that effort. And somewhere they meet. And I think by the 20th year, they begin to see the fruit of their labor bearing results.
You talked about adjusting to. When somebody says, I'm trying to change them.
Well, you can't adjust to somebody by trying to change them or try to mold them. I hear people say, I'm going to mold my husband. I'm going to mold my wife. I mean, are they sculpture pieces? I mean, what are you going to do? Are they your children? Are they your pets? Nobody can mold anybody. All you can do is adapt to people. Get to know their weaknesses, get to know their strengths, get to know the hot buttons, what you touch, and it triggers trouble, and minimize how much you trigger the trouble. Get to know when to smile and move on, and when not to smile. I mean, these are the micro adjustments you're making. So over time, your wife says something, and maybe first 3 years you would have replied a certain way. By this time, you just smile and say, okay, we'll talk about it later. And the moment passes. The moment for quarrel passes. And 5 minutes later, both of you are smiling. You may even come back to it and resolve it in a far better way. So these are the micro adjustments. You're making them, you're learning when to respond, when not to respond, when to smile, when to walk away, when to just tap the person on the knee or the back and say it's okay. You just learn these languages and what to do, what makes your spouse happy, what doesn't make them happy, what will anger them, and what would make them glow, So over time, you accentuate the positive. You do more of the positive, less of the negative, and you minimize your quarrels.
You call them micro adjustments. I'm sure somebody's listening and saying, if I had understood this earlier, I wouldn't be where I am today. Maybe let's end by bringing some strength to couples that may not have had the understanding that they need and who are therefore struggling on the journey. Let's end with them, please.
I mean, the worst thing that happens in marriage is when you get to know your partner so well and use what you have known as a weapon against them, not use it as a tool to help them. And the reason why you get to know people is not to damage them. You get to know people so you can help them. And all of us know our spouses. If you've been married for a while, you know your husband. You know him very well. You know your wife very well. And you really know what will trigger him. You know what will trigger her, what will make her happy, what will make her sad, what words to use to wound her, what words to use to wound him. You know all of that. The question is, how are you going to use all those tools? And if you're a Christian, your greatest prayer is, Lord, help me to use what I know about my spouse to build them up and not to destroy them. And I believe if God grants us the wisdom in that area, we can build heaven on earth marriages. And everybody is capable of doing that if they put in the effort. Well, we'll keep talking and we'll catch you again. Listen, if you've been blessed by this Christian Conversations, what makes the conversation really great is your participation. We want to be able to serve you. We want to be able to help you. And if you have questions along the line with what we are talking about, please let's have your questions. We want to interact with your questions. We want to think through them, and we want to pray that we can come up with answers that are scriptural and that help you to grow in your Christian life. And we also want to encourage you to be part of this conversation. Subscribe to this podcast, and let us enjoy a time of enriching Christian conversation as we grow closer to the Lord. Let's hear from you, and let us build this together.
That is all the time we have for today. Join us for the next episode at the same time next week. Thank you for watching.